Hi everyone, my name is Matthew and this short video clip is a part of Team Singapore's efforts to keep the debating circuit active in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. And I'm sure many of us are feeling a little despondent at the fact that all of the tournaments on our local circuit have been cancelled. But fret not, because Team Singapore has prepared a set of online activities which we will be rolling out on our Facebook page, so look out for those and do not give up debating in this season of COVID. This video is also a part of the first line of activity that we have prepared. I'll be talking about some metacognitive questions that all speakers should ask themselves when crafting arguments, then tailoring some of my own personal suggestions specifically to crafting substantive arguments in first speaker speeches. Now note that this is specifically on the methodology to craft an argument that you already have a rough idea of in your head. And if you want further suggestions on how to generate arguments to begin with, you should watch Gareth's video first on argument generation. So, when you've decided as a team on the broad arguments you'll be running in a case, and you're sitting down to start writing it out in your speech, there are two important strategic questions that you need to ask yourself first. Which part of the argument needs to be standing at the end of the debate for your side to win, and which part of the argument is most prone to attack. Often, we are all guilty of wanting to go on and on about the part of the argument that we feel the most confident about, because we know a lot about that part of the argument and we want to get all of our content knowledge out on the floor to impress the adjudicators. But it is also important to pull back and ask ourselves if spending so much time on that particular tier or that particular characterization will reap any returns for your team at all. Most of the time, the parts of your case that you know the most about are probably also the strongest and most intuitive truths on your side of the motion, and least likely to be attacked by your opponents. So spending 70% of your speech stacking reasons for it will probably end up being an entire waste of time. Here's an example. On the motion, this house supports separate gender categories for major entertainment awards. It can be very tempting on proposition to spend a lot of time illustrating the problems of a patriarchal entertainment industry, giving all the prominent examples like Harvey Weinstein and sexual favors that female actors are forced to give to even have a shot at success. But your opponents probably are not going to contest that, because it's obviously hard to deny the discrimination that is quite universally agreed upon to exist. So, the area of your argument that is most prone to attack is not the problem that exists, but rather your mechanism to solve it. How will separate gender categories solve the problem that both sides will agree exists in status quo? Now that may be harder than to prove than problem bashing, but it is both the most prone to attack and also the key link in your case that needs to stand till the end of the debate for your side to win. Because your burden on proposition is to prove that separate gender categories will make life better off for female actors in the industry. So, when crafting your argument, you need to keep referring back to these two questions on which area is most prone to attack and which area needs to stand at the end of the debate to make sure that your speech remains relevant and strategic. Specific to first speakers, I have two broad suggestions to note. First, make sure that you spend more time on building out the mechanism or the counterfactual for your side. In a majority of motions, you will end up having to defend a policy or a vision of the world, and most of your substantive arguments should therefore be centered around showing why that vision of the world will be materialized via your policy, your stance, or a social norm that you're made to support on your side. Second, always prioritize clarity of explanation over quantity of material. It can be tempting to overwhelm your opponents with 5 or 6 structural reasons for something. But if the adjudicators didn't understand it when you delivered it, because you had too little time to explain too many tiers, then those 5 or 6 reasons are as good as undelivered. So, pick the strongest reasons that you have for the claim that you want to defend, and make sure that you explain each reason thoroughly with intuitive examples with as much clarity in each of the links of the arguments, and that will be far harder to rebut than hastily delivered arguments.